I'm Tim Leitner, and I'm with the Alaska Child Support Services Division in Anchorage, Alaska. And on today's program, I'm joined by my co-host, Chris Breen. Chris?
Thanks, Tim. I'm Chris Breen with the Massachusetts Department of Revenue's Child Support. Today, we have the opportunity to have a conversation with Ted Mermigos, the 4D Director at the Delaware Division of Child Support Services. Ted, could you tell us a little more about who you are and what you do in your day-to-day job in the office?
Hey, thanks for having me today. So I have been the State 4D Director here in the state of Delaware since April of 2015. As you probably suspect, one of the things about Delaware is our size. And in Delaware, we are a state-run program with 3 county offices. So it's not unusual for me to be able to go visit our offices. I can be in any office in less than 45 minutes, so it's very convenient. I'm really lucky to be in this role, and I'm really grateful to be able to lead a wonderful bunch of employees here in Delaware at our Division of Child Support Services. As it relates to day-to-day responsibilities, I have a great opportunity of only supervising really a handful of people, but those people are so important to the overall operation. For instance, the Deputy Director reports to me, and she oversees all of our case managers throughout the state. The Chief of Administration reports to me, and she handles all of the accounting functions as it relates to child support, but also the fiscal aspect of our child support agency and, making sure the reports are submitted on time, making sure that the funds are available and that kind of thing. And then lastly, I have our Chief Social Service Administrator who handles policy and legislative changes for the division. And, between all of us, I'm lucky to be in this position because I have great people that report to me and they know really how to handle their part of the overall operation.
Well, Ted, we're excited to get you on location today. So I'm gonna kind of pose a couple of questions here to you. We kind of like to ask our guests to share a little bit about their journey and what led them into the child support program arena. Can you share a little bit about how you got your start with child support and how did you end up here?
Yeah, and I don't know, when you have talked to other 4D directors around the state, I'd really like to take a survey because, I'm one of those people that started off as a child support specialist, a child support worker, was a supervisor, promoted again to an administrator, and eventually was able to be promoted to the deputy director position. And then, like I said, in April of 2015, had really for someone, and hopefully I'm speaking for other directors, when you have had an opportunity to really work your whole career or a large majority of your career in the field of child support in one state, man, it is such a great opportunity and to really kind of lead the agency that you've worked in, your whole adult career. So I'm really am grateful for this opportunity to lead a division from where I got my start here in the state of Delaware. So I've been around for a while, over 20 years of child support experience, and started off at one of the lowest levels you can start off in the agency. And guys, what I do is when I have an opportunity to meet with new employees, I always love to tell them that story. And I always love to say to them, you don't know where you're going to wind up in 20 years. You don't know who's going to be watching you, and watching your development and your growth. And, if you do the work, you stay focused and really love the work that you do, who knows where you're going to be in 20 years. You could be the next division director of this agency, So it's a great motivational tool. And I hope people take advantage of that story that I get to tell them, because I'm living proof that it can happen. So, I don't know. It's always good. I always feel good when I'm able to see new people and tell them that story. And it's like, and you can see them say, gee, that could be me someday, So they really do, I think, appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got to ask, in the 20 years you've been there, and maybe more so the time that you've been director, can you tell us a little bit about what are some of the accomplishments of what you've done in the program?
Yeah, within the first couple months of becoming the division director, I want to say I wrote, but I wrote and actually introduced legislation in the General Assembly here in the state to change our division's name. So that kind of really kicked off a larger view of who we are as an agency. So we used to be known, and as several other states are known, as the Division of Child Support Enforcement. We introduced and had passed and got the governor to sign legislation that changed our name to the Division of Child Support Services. And what that really started was a culture change. It was a culture change not only for the employees here, but for the public, that we are a service-oriented agency. And we provide a service, whether it's to a custodial parent, a non-custodial parent, to an employer that's calling us. We provide a service. We're not, in the true terms of law enforcement, we're not law enforcement. We are a service-oriented agency, and it's our goal to provide a service. There would be situations where non-custodial parents would come to our office and they'd ask for help, or they'd want information about their child support case. And of course, we provide them that. We sit them down, we go over their case, we provide them with information. But when that discussion got to a certain point, it was like, you got to go to family court, or you got to go talk to this agency or that. And by changing our division's name, and when I talk about a culture change internally, we started a message internally to our employees that said, look, when someone comes to our office, we really need to be listening and trying to understand what their particular situation is. And you should really never be telling somebody, I can't help you. There should be a way, even with non-custodial parents, you should be listening to them. If there's a referral that we can make to the Department of Labor to help them find employment opportunities, to refer them to a specific person or a specific location at family court to help them file the appropriate documents, we should be doing that. We shouldn't just be referring them to somewhere else without really understanding what their problems are, really kind of understanding what they're dealing with. The other part of that culture change, and this is something that I've really have taken and tried to run with over the last several years, is trying to change the culture of how the public, both custodial and non-custodial parents, how they view us as a child support agency. And I've done everything from going into correctional facilities and going on the radio, meeting with different groups of organizations and agencies in our community to try and change the message that we're here to help you, we want to help you, and it's never too late. It's never too late to get back on track with your child support obligation. So, and that whole thing about trying to reach the people where they are, it started us to develop certain other outreach opportunities. Like I talked a little bit about going on the radio. I do a monthly radio show where we take calls from the public, about their child support situation. The Child Support Connection, that Facebook Live event that we do once a month, is to go where people are and try to engage them in a discussion about child support. And hopefully, helping them understand that we're not the bad guy. One of the things, and one of the things I've said to people is, you will never, as a non-custodial parent, come to our child support office and there'll be a state trooper there waiting to take you away. That will never happen as long as I'm the division director. We don't do that. And we're not going to be, banging on doors at 5:30 in the morning, pulling people out of bed. We want to work with people and non-custodial parents to gain compliance, to help people get back on track with their child support obligations.
So Ted, that's a great starting point. And I know for the July 2022 edition of the NCA Child Support Communique, better known as the CSQ, you wrote an article called Delaware is Changing with the Times. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came to write this?
Yeah, you guys know, it's like social media today, it's really dominating the world. And, more people are on social media than get a newspaper subscription. You know what I mean? A home delivery. So, we decided that if we really want to make a difference and try to do some drastic outreach, we should go and hit social media up. We've had a social media account for years, but originally it was like, post those job openings or, wish them, a Merry Christmas on the social media page. But we decided, it's time to get a little drastic and let's take a chance on having some dialogue on our Facebook page and see if we can try to attract that kind of a dialogue with the public who maybe doesn't want to come to our child support office and doesn't want to have to sit down with somebody face to face.
That's great feedback, Ted. This question may tie a little more into your comments on social media. In your CSQ article, you mentioned that sometimes you must stretch beyond your comfort zone and do things that are a little uncomfortable to meet new successes, and that if you're not using social media to promote child support programs, offer help to child support participants, or share important information to the community at large, that you are missing a huge opportunity. Could you just expand a little bit more on what you meant by those comments?
Yeah, it's like I kind of already mentioned a little bit. It's people are out on the social media accounts, and for state agencies such as the Child Support Agency here in Delaware, it is such a great opportunity to reach those people. And if they're out there, that's a group, a segment of society that you might be missing in these other forms of communication. So for us as an agency, reaching out to the public through social media was just a new and interesting way to kind of make those links. And that was something we said, hey, let's try it. And if it doesn't work, we don't have to continue to do it, but we should at least try to do it and see what happens and see what the reaction is.
Great, thank you.
So Ted, I think you mentioned that it was in 2021, or correct me if I'm a little off there, but you opened a whole new world by launching your first Facebook Live event. Can you tell us about that? And really, how did you conceive, or how did you think about doing this? And what was your intent? What were you wanting to do?
Yeah, so we came about this idea, and I'd love to be able to take credit for it, but it was really our community relations officer who suggested that we try to have these Facebook Live events. And again, it was just trying to reach people where they are. And the thing about it was, originally, what I always like to say to people is I didn't have a Facebook account personally. You know what I mean? And in order to kind of link into the division's account, I had to create my own Facebook page. So, right now I don't have any, I still don't have any friends, and that's by choice. I only have my personal Facebook account to get into the child support account and be able to do these Facebook Live events. But I can remember that day where there was a group of people standing around me, in my office trying to help me open up a Facebook account, and they helped me kind of maneuver and be able to create that account to start the process. And there was a lot of apprehension. If you've ever had any kind of a position in a child support, you know that those people that you may come in contact with may not always be willing to be very nice or be respectful of the employees at child support. So there was some apprehension by our employees in order to feel like we could pull this off and it would actually be a success story. But we were able to do it, and they walked me through that process in order to be able to start these videos. So, the thing about social media is the individuals who are on social media, people that of all ages. So you're hitting new parents, you're hitting existing, parents who maybe have had a child support case for quite some time. So it's always, I think it's important because the opportunity to hit a variety of people all different age groups, all different kinds of situations, living in, all different parts of the world. We've had individuals who have viewed our Facebook Live videos from different countries around the world. I think there's been 9 different countries where individuals have actually viewed one of our videos that we've had online. So, I mean, that's pretty successful. And it's like, you wonder if they even have like internet access in some of these remote areas, but they're viewing our video. So we find that very encouraging that they're able to take advantage of that.
Ted, I've got to ask, when you were starting to conceptualize and get this going, did you and your group set any parameters to begin with? Like what out of bounds, what wasn't? And then also, how do you get questions from the public? How do you get those so you can field them and then, of course, address them and answer and all that?
Yeah, we had set some parameters. The one thing we didn't want to happen, and the public has been pretty good about this, is we didn't want them putting any personal information. Like we didn't want them listing the non-custodial parent's name or the custodial parent's name or their dates of birth or social security numbers or any of that information. So that we just wanted general, and we obviously we still want just general child support questions that don't contain any, we try to stay as positive because we don't want there to be parent bashing or any of that kind of stuff going on. So just keeping it as general as possible, but getting their question across. And, so their questions come in from the chat. They can type in their question, and I read those questions aloud and then answer the question. It can be sometimes a little tricky because sometimes the sentences don't read right, or they're using abbreviations and I'm trying to figure out what those abbreviations are. Or like just yesterday we had we did a Facebook Live event, and the person who wrote the question was really long, and I'm still trying to read that question, and people are writing in new questions, and it's pushing those comments up. So trying to keep track of everything can be a little bit complicated. But that's the only way we receive questions, is they type those questions in the chat. And there are situations, Tim, where they will write a question that doesn't apply to child support. When the pandemic was going strong, there were some questions that came in about vaccinations and that kind of stuff. And it was like, we just explained to them, this is child support. You should contact the Division of Public Health or contact the appropriate agency, and we help them get in that right direction. And there have been situations where the comments have not been so appealing to me, about my division, about my employees. And hey, I read those. I take whatever comes in. If it's a question, I certainly answer that question and try to work on a response. The one thing that I say is, and I hope that people appreciate this. I'm the division director, so it all runs through me. You know what I mean? It ends with me. It starts with me. If there's training issues that need to happen, if there's issues about how my employees are treating the public, I want to hear that, because I want to be able to make our employees better. And my thing is, we're not going to treat the public in a non-professional manner. And if they are being treated that way, we have a way to go back and look to see how that client was spoken to and dealt with by our employees.
So Ted, listening to you talk about how those questions come in and some of the challenges with that, I've got to ask, did you have any reservations or fears as you embarked on this new adventure, and how did those play out?
Yeah, that's another great question, and there is kind of like a funny story behind that. Did I have any fears, Tim? No. I've been doing this way too long. I've talked to so many custodial and non-custodial parents. I knew it was going to be all right, but it was everybody else. It was the people around me that were like, oh, I don't know if you should do this. I don't think you should. What if they, say negative things? What if they talk badly about you? And I'm like, it's fine. We'll be able to kind of work through those issues and address. My goal is to address their concerns, and the rest of it can just go away. But they were worried. My people were worried about what are they going to say to you? How are you going to react to them? And I'm like, it's not going to be that big of a deal. And it worked out great. That that first Facebook Live event, we had something like 40 people that actually tuned into that first event, and it was like I knew when I saw that amount of people participating, I'm like, this is something we got to try to continue. And over time, we certainly don't have that many people chiming in every month or tuning in every month, but it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long for the questions to start rolling in. There could be 10 or 15 people tuned in, but it doesn't take long for those questions to start. And then once the first 2 or 3 questions come in, it just gets rolling. It gets rolling, and the next thing you know, the hour is over. And we strategically schedule those Facebook Live events, the Child Support Connection, the same day of every month, the first Monday of the month, the same time every month, from 11:30 to 12:30. That was done to kind of be around the lunch hour. So if people were at work, they wanted to go out to their car and tune into the Facebook Live event, they could do that and then go back to work or whatever. So I think that's also helped that, we do it the same day of the month and we do it at the same time. And then we go ahead and we promote it. My community relations officer will, just before the event starts, a couple hours before, we'll communicate through Facebook that this event is going to start in a couple hours. He will then send an email to the employees statewide, including our customer service unit who's taking the phone calls to promote it internally and encourage our workers to tell the public, hey, you've got a problem, and you've got a problem with what we're doing, chime in and ask the director a question, and pose that to him, and he'll be able to answer your question. So the promoting of it is so important, and I think having it on the same day and at the same time every month is so important to really make that make it a steady, event.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the first edition of the Child Support Connection was released. And then what happened? Can you tell us a little bit about staff's reaction, about what transpired?
Yeah, so that first event, like I said, it was phenomenal. It was really exciting, and to see the level of participation from the public and the questions that came in from the public, they really do ask good questions, and I'm never disappointed with what the different variations or the different concerns or questions that somebody may have about their child support situation. Now, sometimes they're repeated. Questions may be repeated from the public from the same day. Somebody who joins in late may be asking a question that came in earlier in the hour, and we try to refer them back to the video. Like, hey, we already answered this question. When the video posts, go back and take a look, and your answer the answer will be there. But that first event was just great, and there was a little bit of some. I think we kind of had to get our bearings on what types of questions could come in. There was a little bit of a couple questions from the public that were maybe a little bit off base in the way that they were kind of being antagonistic a little bit, but we were able to kind of get it kind of under control. But it was good. And I think when it was over, I think that it kind of eased the mind of the people in my office, because they were, there were some people in the office tuning in too. They were all like wanting to see, all right, is he going to screw this thing up, or is he going to make it work? And I think they were happy with the outcome. And I think, the one thing I learned was that I knew that even if that didn't go off as good as it did, we still were going to do it again, just to kind of see if it was going to take off and running. And it really did turn out to be something that's been very beneficial, not only to me, because I get to hear from the public directly about some of the things that may be occurring with their child support case, but I'm also being able to encourage and really kind of talk through child support problems that our clients are having. And one of the things that I always do, I do this even today, 2 years later, a year and a half later, I always start off by going through the mission statement, reading our division's mission statement, really to kind of reinforce that we as an agency are really about the family. The family may not be a unified group, a group of individuals, but we want to support the family, whether it's through a financial order, medical order, or finding ways to emotionally support both parents and the children involved. So I always like to start with the mission statement to let them know what we're all about at Child Support. And really kind of reinforcing that we are here. We are now the Child Support Services, and we want to provide you with a service. The other thing I do is I'm always encouraging people who are tuning in to, if you know somebody who has a child support case, especially if it's a non-custodial parent, let them know, the date, the time, and that they can view and participate and ask questions. And really kind of having that exchange with them is important to me so that they know that we're here to help them too. So I'm always trying to encourage people, tell a friend, and tune in and have them tune in. So.
Ted, a few follow-up questions. You mentioned how many customers had logged in for your first session. How many followers does your Facebook page have now, and how many live Child Support Connection events have been released? And we were also curious how many views you have.
Yep. So we have right now about 5,200 followers. So we're really excited about that. When we first started our Facebook page, it was like in the hundreds, and it was like in the hundreds for months, But I think that by being able to promote this and some other things that we're doing on Facebook, it's really kind of added to the number of followers that we have. I just did my last Facebook Live, the Child Support Connection, yesterday because the 4th of July we were off, so we did it on Tuesday. And that was the 22nd Child Support Connection video that we posted to our Facebook page and our YouTube page. And there's been about 14,000, almost 15,000 views of all of those videos. So 22 videos, 15,000 individuals have actually viewed one of those videos. I was just given some statistics this morning, and it looks like around 477,000, that's almost 500,000 people have seen various pieces of our content. So whether it's what we're posting on Facebook, what our videos look like, videos that we may pull from other Department of Health and Social Services Facebook pages, but that's 500,000 views, and that's a lot of people. So we're really happy about that. The information is getting out there, and that's good. That was the whole point, is to kind of beef up this Facebook page, get people looking at it, and get people interested in what we have to talk about. So it really has worked out well.
Absolutely. That's incredible to hear almost 500,000 people engaging with that content in some way. Curious, can you tell us a little bit about some of the content that has made it onto your event episodes?
Yeah, one of the things I always, like as I mentioned, I talk about our mission statement, and one of the things I do, I always have backup, because you don't know. I mean, there may be people viewing, but are they going to ask a question? And I don't want to be like, rambling on about nothing, so I always have some stuff that I can hit, some of the things I can talk about that the agency is implementing, some changes that may be happening in the legislature. I always like to talk about where people can make payments, what kind of payments we will accept at what locations. Out of our 3 offices, 2 of the offices don't accept any payments except to get a license reinstated or to avoid being incarcerated. But our 3rd office, our main office, has a drop box that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So with Delaware being as small as we are, it's not unusual to get people driving up from another county to make a payment. So, I always like to talk a little bit about what we're doing and how people can apply for services, and talk a little bit about our relationship with our 4A agency and our 4E agencies, so that people know and custodial parents know, if I'm getting TANF or if I'm getting Medicaid, I know that I'm going to have to deal with and work with the Child Support Agency, and they're going to get an application or a referral from the 4A. So I'm always talking about some of those relationships it just helps people have a broader understanding of the relationships between us and other agencies within our department. And we certainly enjoy being able to provide that kind of information to the public, because I think sometimes the public thinks that it's like this agency's over here and they do this, and this agency's over here and they do that. But for them to know, hey, we know people at the Department of Labor. It's a totally different department than I work for, but we can get you in front of a training person over the Department of Labor. We can get you in front of a computer that will help you find jobs all over the state of Delaware and that kind of thing. So, just providing that type of information specifically, obviously I'm talking mostly about what we do and helping people get rid of that misconception, not wanting to try and assist them moving through. And actually what I always say is trying to help people maneuver through this child support process, whether it's here in our agency or the family court, who really plays an intricate role in establishing those court orders that a non-custodial parent is going to be responsible for.
It sounds like you have some very valuable content on these sessions. Are there any topics that you steer away from for any reason? Not
really. When I do get questions, well, one of the things I got to say is one of the things I try not to do is provide legal advice, because that will get me in trouble. It definitely will not go over well with my people if I'm trying to provide legal advice. I'm not an attorney, so that kind of complicates matters even more. But so I definitely try to stay away from that part of it. And then when there's questions that are raised about other areas of state government that I'm not familiar with, I certainly don't go into those areas, and we'll try to tell them where to go to find those resources and be able to find that kind of information. But ultimately, I got to be very careful to not kind of overstep my bounds when we talk about legal and when we talk about like how things are going to result. Like if you go to court and do A, B, C, and D, this is what's going to happen. I try to stay away from that because I can never predict what the family court is going to do, and I often will be using the term court discretion, and they have the ability to determine the end results of that. But so those few things I try to stay away from, and of course anything that deals with name calling and being disrespectful, I try to move on from that pretty quickly. So yeah, that's really about it.
Okay, great, thank you, Ted. Where do you see the Child Support Connection heading in the future, and how would you like to see it grow?
Yeah, this is something we've been talking about, and Chris, to be honest with you, we probably should have already been doing some of this, but what I really want to do is I really want to start doing interviews. It may not be for the whole hour, but maybe a 15-minute interview in the beginning with, say, like employers. Like if an employer is hiring, like have a conversation with them about, what does it take to be an employee in this role? Are there any requirements? Are there anything that would not make somebody hireable for that particular position? And kind of really start maybe promoting jobs that are available in the state of Delaware that custodial and non-custodial parents could take advantage of. I've also wanted to do some interviews with some nonprofit fatherhood groups in our state and really talk a little bit about what their role is, how they can help non-custodial parents, and how we can kind of work together to partner with some of those, build those relationships and continue to help non-custodial parents together. And one of the other things I'd like to do too is our employees. In the child support community, we know what an SDU is, or we know what a customer service unit is, or what the operations employees or the accounting employees are responsible for. But maybe interviewing the manager or the supervisor of that particular unit. Wouldn't it be interesting if I was speaking to our customer service unit supervisor and she talks a little bit about the number of calls that come in during a day? And people really get to understand the stress that they may be under when they're answering calls from the public, and what's the best times to call and maybe the better times to get through to somebody. So that's definitely something I would like to do is to be able to expose the public to the different areas of our child support operation and really help them understand the day-to-day business.
Ted, I've got to chime in here. I hear a podcast opportunity coming up for Delaware, so I'm just putting that out there.
Sounds good.
Hey, in your CSQ article, you mentioned that after having such success on Facebook Live with the Child Support Connection, Delaware is now working on building and expanding our social media presence to Instagram and a YouTube channel. And you kind of touched on this already, but can you tell us more about that? I'd love to see this growth opportunity.
Yeah. So right now, we have an Instagram page, and it has almost 1,000 followers, 884. And quite honestly, we probably don't use Instagram as much as we should. I think other state agencies use it more than we do, but we're always trying to post information, especially about like job openings. We have a direct link with the Department of Labor, and they send us these types of that type of information all the time. But really doing some more types of, and this goes along with like our YouTube page, doing actual videos for both YouTube directly and for Instagram, short videos that talk a little bit about the program and where we're located, and so we're looking at different things and how to expand our touch on those other social media outlets. But Facebook is really where we are right now. But we definitely like people to follow us both on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube page because we always are posting things. I mentioned earlier too, the third Wednesday of every month I go and do that radio show, and our community relations officer will edit that hour on the radio and put it on our YouTube page so people can hear our discussion with not only the radio host he's been very good to us, by letting us come and do that. And it's been his idea. I say to him, I say, if there's if you ever, because we've been doing that for about 3 years now. In August, as we're going to be starting our 4th year on the radio every month. During the pandemic, we did it via telephone, but I go down to the radio station now and we do that. So we post those radio conversations to our YouTube page, and like I said, the radio host is good because he asks me good questions. He's not afraid to admit that he's a former non-custodial parent, so we have some interesting dialogue. And then the thing that I love the most, but it's hard to encourage people to call in, is to take the calls from the public. We've even branched out to reading emails, obviously leaving out names and that kind of stuff, but we will read emails from the public that he gets from on his radio station website and emails that I get, and we talk them through. And it's just getting out there, and providing a service. So.
Yeah. So Ted, just full disclosure, both Chris and I have had the opportunity to watch your most recent Facebook event, the Child Support Connection. If our listeners wanted to watch the Child Support Connection or to check out your Facebook Live page or your Facebook page, where would they go and how would they do that?
Yeah. So don't you remember when we started this, I said I'm not like Facebook fluent and, I need help. So if they want to go, this is the best way for me, to kind of tell them how to get to us. If you go to Facebook and you search Delaware Child Support or Delaware DCSS, they'll find our Facebook page. Same thing for YouTube. Delaware Division of Child Support Services, and they can find our YouTube channel. But I'm glad you guys had an opportunity to see it. And as you probably noticed, it's not clean. It's me being me, and I hope that that goes a long way with the public because if I don't know something, I tell them I don't know it. I'm often referring people to send us a personal message with their case information, and we research it and we get back to them. So, but it's not it's not where we're reading a script or anything. It's just winging it. And some days, we have technical problems that we start late, or we don't start on time, or we have blips along the video process, but we try to make it work, and it seems to be something that people have really enjoyed. And and like I said earlier, it doesn't take long. I'll go through a couple things that I want to talk about, but then the questions start popping up. And one question will lead to another one that will lead to someone else asking something else. And next thing you know, that hour has gone by. And we'll tune in next month, because we'll be here, and they do. So that's what we like the best.
That's great. Thanks, Ted. As we wrap up our time together today, are there any last words or thoughts that you might like to leave us with?
Yeah, there is, and what I would like to try and do is encourage other child support employees to do this. It doesn't have to be the 4D director or the local county administrator, or the county director. It can be someone. Trust me, there's someone in every office that's social media savvy or wants to get out there and promote the program. You just got to give them a chance to do it, and they'll do it. And there's no better way to get our information out there but by using social media to reach people where they are. And the one thing that I've learned, that the more genuine and the more honest that you are with the public, about their particular child support situation, it's going to make a better situation for not only you as the agency, but for them as the recipient of the services we're providing. But I want to try to encourage people to take this on and try it and see what the interest might be. And I think that they'll find that people will be tuning in. And that very first Child Support Connection we did was only a half an hour. I don't even think we did a full hour. And then it got to be like, yeah, we need to extend this, and we need to kind of just do it every month. So I really just would like to encourage people to take the leap and try it and see how it works. And if not you, there's somebody that will do it for you in your office. There's people out there that like to do it. So
great. Thanks, Ted.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we want to thank our guest today, Ted Mermigos, 4D Director of the Delaware Division of Child Support Services, for joining us today and sharing what he and his staff are doing to build and expand their social media presence to engage with their child support participants and with the public. Ted, we hope that you will come back with us sometime and give us a little update on the progress and on the exciting stuff that you guys are doing. Thank you, as always, to our listeners listening in today. On behalf of Chris Breen and myself, this has been NCIA on Location.